What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we have some Lions news to cover. Now, it's not a lot of Lions news, but it is some news, and I'm really interested and excited to talk about this, and I may talk about this even more later on. But as you guys can see from the title, we're going to be talking about Marvin Jones Jr. and some other wide receivers. Let's get it started. All right, now before we get into the video, before we start talking about the main topic of today's video, I do want to let you guys know that we are trying to have a podcast. We're trying to start a podcast over here, and some of you guys want to see T more on the channel. Well, he's actually going to be in the podcast, so that's why it's super exciting. It's probably going to be called a Dodcast because, you know, it fits perfectly, and it's also like when the first time I tried to make one, that's what I called it. I didn't go too well, but I have higher hopes, you know, for this podcast, and we have some high hopes, you know, and plans for the future, but we got to get it kickstarted. We got to get it started first. Now, the first episode is not out yet, but we are, you know, planning to do that hopefully soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. I will, you know, I'll give you all the link for it, but it was in the community. So make sure, again, you stay locked in the community because that's where I give a lot of updates. So keep locked over there. But that is the plan, man. The Dodcast hopefully will become a thing. And instead of, you know, hearing 7-minute, you know, to 12-minute videos, you get to hear maybe 40-minute videos to an hour or 30 to an hour, somewhere like that, somewhere in that range. And you can hear people just talk about Lions. So if you like, you know, just hearing Lions and you like the longer videos, that'll be perfect for you. And you'll get to hear someone else that's pretty much the opposite of me. So if you're like the opposite of me and you're like one of those people that like, oh, you're so optimistic, wait till T gets on the show. It'll be the complete opposite. Don't even worry about it. So I'm excited about that for sure. Now, as you guys read from the title, we're talking about Marvin Jones Jr. and a couple of other wide receivers, Victor Bolden Jr. and Quintez Cephus. So Marvin Jones Jr. put out these Instagram stories. If you guys have Instagram, it's kind of like short little clips you can put together, some nice pictures, but he put together 2 short little videos of them working out together. And, you know, they were putting in work, and that's really intriguing. We put a video out a little bit ago, a couple of weeks ago, I would say, about Stafford, DeAndre Swift, and Isaac Nauta. You know, those guys were all there working out, and now we see this clip, but that's really cool. You know, you love seeing the new guys come together. And Victor Bolden, a guy that we haven't talked about a lot, right? We made a Quintez Cephus video today, so it's perfect timing. Well, everybody knows Marvin Jones Jr., which, you know, kind of the title, we'll get into that in a second. That Victor Bolden is kind of one of those under-the-radar players. Victor Bolden was an undrafted player in 2017 with the San Francisco 49ers out of Oregon State, and he's kind of the opposite. You know, we have a lot of bigger wide receivers, at least over 6 foot. Victor Bolden is not. He's 5'8", 178, I believe, and you know, he ran a 4.5, 440, so pretty solid. I wouldn't say he's necessarily a burner, but he gives you some versatility. He's like a smaller guy. He'd definitely be competing for that slot position. Maybe he could be a future slot for the Detroit Lions. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know if they'll, you know, be putting him at the wideout position, but they do it with running backs, so they could probably find a spot for him. I actually found this cool quote by Victor Bolden when he came out of college, talking to the 49ers because fans didn't know who he was. He said this. He said, "I can make plays in space. I can take the top off of a coverage as a deep threat, and I can also do underneath stuff. I take pride in being versatile, and that's what I bring to the team." And that's exactly, again, that's what the Lions go for, man. They're all about versatile players, and he was pretty good at Oregon State. You know, he had over 2,500 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. He was a solid player, and he also had some kick returns. So, you know, he can give you a little versatility. Maybe he competes for the kick return position, but it is great to see all those guys come together and work. You know, I believe Quintez Cephus makes the team, Marvin Jones Jr. as well, which we'll get into. And, you know, I don't know about Victor Bolden, but it is cool to see, you know, them putting in work. So I don't know what his future is going to look like, but definitely wish the best to him. Now, let's talk about one of the main topics of this video, and that is Marvin Jones Jr. Now, I've seen this a lot in the Lions community, right? A lot of people have been talking about this. Should the Lions trade Marvin Jones Jr.? To me, I didn't even think this was a question because I'm firmly on one side. And I can understand the argument for the other side, but for me, I kind of break this down pretty simple. And me and T actually may talk about this on our first episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that details when that does drop, because I'll talk about it a little bit more. Today, we're kind of just going to keep it short and sweet. They're number 1/number 2 wide receiver. You know, you can put him wherever you want. They're really versatile, but he was a heck of a player that I think was the first player that Bob Quinn actually brought in when he came to Detroit. You know, he always talks about that. So I'm pretty sure that was the first player he brought in out of Cincinnati, and he came in and had some great seasons. I mean, his second year in, over 1,000 yards receiving, which is obviously incredible. 1,100 yards, that's not something that you see all the time. And the last 2 seasons, you know, had to deal with some injuries. 2018 only played 9 games, 2019 13 games, a couple of injuries here and there, and they were usually towards the end of the season. That's what I usually felt like they were. And, you know, 2018 was probably, you know, the most he was hindered because he played in 9 games, but he still had 500 yards, which means he would have been almost on pace for 1,000. And then last season, 2019, he played 13 games, almost 800 yards. He's been a good receiver for us. He's had a pretty high catch percentage. It's actually been better than Kenny Galladay usually. I really like him. I mean, last season, he caught 68% of his passes. I think Kenny Galladay was like 56. So yeah, Marvin Jones Jr. has been really nice for us. And the talk is because, you know, Marvin Jones Jr.'s contract's up. You know, should the Detroit Lions just trade him now and get what they can? Personally, no. I don't think that makes any sense. I'm just going to be honest here. That's just not how I would look at this, especially in this big of a year for Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. And that's Bob Quinn's like one of his main guys he brought in. To me, that would make no sense to do this. One of the strengths of your team and that you can pretty much rely upon going into next season is your ability to score. You know, you have probably the best receiver core in the league. One of the best. You're probably the best receiver core in the NFC North, though. And that's one of your reliable things. The defense is a question mark. The running game is a question mark. But that's something that you can pride yourself on. I can rely that this is going to be something that's successful. So to trade away your second or number one wide receiver, to me, is crazy. I know he's had injury concerns. Now, I think there's another, topic to it that would make more sense to me, where you could debate, should the Lions re-sign him? I think that's a legitimate question. But when it comes to should they trade him, heck no. The only way I can see that happening is if the Lions were so bad by the trade deadline and they just couldn't, maybe they had like one win and they're just like, all right, man, we're kind of restarting at this point. They're kind of just, emptying the house, cleaning the house, which hopefully is not the case. And then at that point, maybe the Lions would look to do that. But I know they have some solid depth, but you know what? Draft players, free agents, everyone's unproven. They're unproven until they prove it. So at this point, I would not, even consider trading to Marvin Jones Jr. That's just me. I understand the reasoning behind it, because you get something instead of just letting him walk. But this is a huge year for Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn. And come on, man. You got to give Daryl Bevell as many weapons as you can. And you already have him locked up. Why mess around with it? So I would definitely keep him and just be happy that we have that nice depth, that if he does get injured like he has the last 2 years, you have guys that you can throw in there. So that's my thoughts, my short little spiel. Let me hear your thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Lions news today. Hopefully you guys are having a great weekend. And make sure you guys stay tuned. And also, comment below, comment question of the day. What games do you want to see me play or see us play on Doseby Gaming? I want to get other games mixed in there with you guys and by myself as well. So comment below some games that you would like to see. I am on PS4. Thank you, Pride, for watching, and I'm out.